today's webinar, Key Benefits of Juris 3.0 Reporting, featuring our guest speaker, Dwayne Carey, Senior Trainer for LexisNexis Juris. My name is Chantel, and I am the Assistant Marketing Manager for Juris, and I will be your host for today's session. These webinars are complimentary to our Juris customers and have been designed to help you get the most from your Juris software by providing you with time-saving tips and best practices for using Juris. The format for today's webinar is in the presentation provided by Dwayne, followed by a question and answer period. All of our attendees will be in listen-only mode for the duration of our presentation. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask them via the questions pane located on your webinar control panel. During the last 5 minutes of the webinar, Dwayne will answer your questions. Please note that we are recording today's event and all attendees will receive an email within 1 week with a link to the recording and any slides that Dwayne may use. Also, there is a brief survey at the end of our webinar today that we ask you to please take a moment to complete. Your feedback will help us in planning our future events. Dwayne, at this time, I will turn the webinar over to you.
Thank you, Chantel. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the Key Benefits of Juris 3.0 reporting. And my name is Dwayne, and I'll be going over just a nice little overview of the Juris 3.0 reporting update. I'll probably spend most of this presentation actually in the reporting side just to show you some features. I'm assuming we have a mix of people who don't already have Juris reports, at least on the Juris Suite side of things. And some people are probably already familiar with the Juris Suite side of reporting, which is where most of our reporting benefits are going to take place. So I'm just going to kind of go over some stuff that might be a refresher for some of you and might be new for others. Before I jump into that, though, I want to get probably what's the big elephant in the room. What about reports I already have in Juris? And I have heard that there's going to be no more access support for Juris. So before I get into anything else, since my thing kicks in, let's take a look. So here's what's happening for those of you using the Access, Microsoft Access to run reports. We will no longer be supporting Microsoft Access as of January 1st, 2021. That does not mean you automatically start losing reports you've already created. That just means we won't be actively supporting it. You won't be able to call in to get support and creating new reports. It's just we're not going to do telephonic support on that Microsoft Access. So basically, you can still use it. And if you've already got reports using Microsoft Access, they should still work fine. It's just we're not going to support any more development of using that access link, not modifications, and we're not going to be troubleshooting it any longer. So just be aware of that. So basically what we've done is we haven't decided we're getting away from reporting, quite the opposite. The reason this is Juris 3.0, not just Juris 2. something, is we made a major update to the reporting side of Juris, especially using Juris Suite reporting. So we spent a lot of time and effort kind of rebuilding the Juris Suite reporting in the back end. So for those of you who are already using Juris Suite reporting, you're not going to see like a huge difference on the front side. There'll be a couple small things that I'll show you. We mainly just went back and said, well, reporting is extremely important to all of our users. How can we make it easier for them to get the data they need out of our product? And Juris Suite reporting is basically our answer to that. So even though you're going to be losing access to Microsoft Access, you'll still be able to run reports. You just may have to switch to Juris Suite reporting side to get the data you want. But for those of you who have custom reports using Microsoft Access at this point in time, they should still run even if you upgrade to Juris 3.0. The other thing, if you're using the Juris supplemental reports in Juris Core or the Juris Gold or the Juris West Coast reports, those are all available in Juris Suite. So if you have them in Core and you're afraid you're going to lose those, you won't. They're just going to be in the Juris Suite side of things. We just moved them all over there so you don't lose any reports you currently are running in Juris Core. And if you do have some really good custom reports that for whatever reason can't be transferred over, a reporting engineer from the professional services team can help you recreate some custom reports within Juris Suite. So just know that, yes, access to the Microsoft Access link will no longer be supported as of January 1st, but that's not because we don't want you to get the data. It's because we built a better option with the Juris Suite reporting side of things. So you'll still be able to run those reports you've got out of Microsoft Access for the foreseeable future. I don't see any issues at this point in time. It's just you won't be able to build any new ones or do any more customizations with our help. It'll be all up to you if you still want to use Microsoft Access to build your reports. So that is what's going on. Juris 3.0, complete overhaul of the Juris Suite reporting module. It's easier and faster to generate your reports that you need. So I'm now going to get out of the PowerPoint for a moment, and let's jump into the actual product. It should be this one. So for those of you currently running Juris Suite reporting, this is what you're probably accustomed to seeing. This is Juris 2.8.6, I believe, is one of my older versions, or 2.8. something, I don't remember off the top of my head. But this is the older way that Juris reports would work in Juris Suite. You had this huge list of reports, 868 reports. Then you would have to go through and find it. And what we did was, it wasn't 868 separate reports. It was one report broken down into different ways to categorize it, sort the data, etc. So you had an AGEDAR analysis by billing agreement with bill detail, or the same one bill summary, or the same one client summary. So this was not the easiest and greatest way to get the reports in Juris Suite. So what we did is not only rebuilt the back end, but we kind of made it a little bit nicer to navigate on the front side. So in Juris 3.0 with Juris Suite 3.0, I'll move over to that. This is how the reports now look. You now have this extra section that'll categorize all the reports and all the new reports that we've built. You will have a folder that has all the reports, both the legacy reports that were in the earlier versions of Juris Suite, and also the new reports specifically for Juris 3.0. So you can find them all in this folder. For those that you are currently using Juris Suite and you're used to our legacy reports, you're used to the way they're built, you won't lose access to them. They'll be either here or you can find them here in the legacy reports folder. So you're not losing any reports from upgrading from an earlier version of Juris Suite to Juris 3.0. All the legacy reports are here. And as I mentioned earlier, the Juris West Coast reports are here, the Gold reports are here, and the supplemental reports are here. So they were rebuilt and repurposed and they're in Juris Suite. So you have access to them. And then what's new in the 3.0 is all these other folders. We now have categorized the reports and there isn't so many of them. So you want a work in process report? Here are the work in process reports. Need your time and expense reports? Here they are. And they're not broken down into 15 different versions of the same report. There's one main report, and now you can run it with the different options you need to get the data out of Juris Suite. So that's one of the biggest things you'll notice is they're just now easier to access because we've categorized them. Running report in Juris Suite, still the same thing. Find the report you want. So let's say I want to look at my prepaid and trust. I want to see my trust and prepaid balances. Oh, there's the report. Just like previous versions of Juris Suite, just double click to run it. Except now, you're going to have all these different options to get the data out of Juris Suite. So with these newer reports, instead of breaking them down into 5, 6 versions of the report, we just gave you the power to determine what you want to see in the report in one screen. So again, for those of you who might not have seen the previous versions of Juris Suite, if I went into a legacy report, I did accounts receivable client over 90-day sub report, double click to run, and only have like a couple options here, maybe 4 or 5 options, depending on the report I was running. You were kind of relying on the reports that we'd already built, and then you were choosing a few options here. But what we've now done is just realized you all have different things you need in your reports. I've worked with Lexis for over 15 years. I've worked with law firms for that entire 15 years I've been with Lexis. And you all have different needs. So we're basically trying to give you the power to create the reports you need that you want to report on using the Juris Suite module. So now when you run a report, double click it, and you decide what you want to see in that report. So for dates, of course, we're going to have the different dates you can choose from. Oops. With the drop down. So today, so dynamic date ranges. So you can run a report this week, next month, and have a dynamic date set. So it'll automatically update for that specific date range that you choose. But of course, if you're looking for a specific date or date range, you can now get to the calendar and choose that specific date range. Some reports would allow you to pick like today's date, inception date, etc., but wouldn't have a calendar. All these reports now should let you choose a specific date range. So if you want to do a month, but you don't want to do the 1st to the 30th, you want to do the 15th of last month to the 15th of this month, you should be able to do that now. We're giving you as much flexibility as we can in these reports so you can get the data you need out of the system. Then we just added additional fields to choose from. There's ways to group the data here. So how do you want to group the first set of data that it pops up? And how do you want to group the second, the third, or up to the 4th sets of data? If you don't want to group by our defaults, then you can just click in the little 3-dot ellipses button and just say, don't worry about grouping this particular sort. I just want to go ahead and sort by the timekeeper, the billing timekeeper, and then the client. Or maybe you don't want to do it by timekeeper billing. We've added more timekeepers now. So you can choose the originating timekeeper, the responsible timekeeper, or choose personnel types. So the whole idea of rebuilding the reports was not only to make it an easier to use process, but to give you as the users more options on what these reports are going to present to you. So go through now. I know it just looks like there's a lot of things to sort through here, but we're going to have default selections populate all these different items. It's just, do you want to choose or change those defaults? And then I want to run a report where I know I have some data in my training database. Again, I'll go back to that prepaid and trust. I have some balances in here. So now when I run this report, put all my values in, click OK, and it pops up my report. And it should actually run quicker than it has previously. Down below, these are the parameters that I set for this report. So as I'm looking through my report, I can use these little page buttons up here to go back and forth or to the end of the report or to the beginning of the report. So I'm going through. The way I've got it kind of sorted right now is when it does its grouping, it groups by a specific timekeeper, I believe I've got it set to. So it puts each one on its own page. That's why there's a lot of pages here and a lot of white space down below. But if I'm looking at this report, decide, this probably wasn't the best way to present this particular report. I can just go down below here. There's an option, hey, do you want a page break after the top report group? I can tell it, you know what? No, that's not what I need. And then I can just refresh the report to quickly update it. And now it's just everything on a single page. And if you choose to, you can include the report parameters at the bottom of the page. So if you pass this report off to somebody else, they can see how you ran that report. They know exactly what parameters you put into the report, so they know what data they're getting when they're looking at this report. And you can, of course, turn that off. Again, at the bottom here is just one of the options. You know what? Don't need those report parameters. Again, a quick refresh updates the screen with your new settings. Now, what I did is, of course, is I squeezed this up so I could have more access, but you can drag that down to see more of the report if necessary, or drag it up to give you more options to the parameters, make your changes, refresh the report, and then quickly get your data out of here as needed. And you have a lot more options when running the reports in Juris Suite than you ever did in Juris Core, for those of you who've never used the Juris Suite reporting module. Those of you familiar with it are probably also familiar with a lot of the options I'm about to kind of quick go over. So at the bottom, we've got some tabs here. So again, here are my parameters. But for those of you who enjoy just playing with the raw data, you've got the raw data back here. And then you can sort by these different columns. You can filter by these different columns. So you've got a lot of ways to actually play with the raw data in these reports that are generated by Juris Suite. And if you go to the analysis tab, for those of you who like to pivot the data, you can create pivot charts back here. And once you've done your pivots, export them out to Excel or HTML or just as a text file. So by using the Juris Suite reporting module, you just have a lot more control and a lot more things you can do with these reports that you couldn't do in Juris Core. Again, for Juris Suite users, a lot of this is familiar to you. You've seen this before. We've also made it easier to export to Excel. So if you've got a report and you do want that report in Excel, just come up to the top over to the right on the toolbar. We've got our export options. Just click the drop down. You can set a default export. Right now I've got it set to export as a PDF. We can do HTML, MHT, rich text, Excel, CSV, whatever you need. And for those that you do like to have in Excel, I'll choose the Excel option. I've got some export options to pop up. I can name the sheet if I want. I click OK. I'll just save it to my desktop for the moment. Click Save. Then do you want to open the file? And now you have got a nice report formatted for Excel. Previously with Excel exports, they might not have looked as pretty. We've cleaned them up, so when they come out to Excel, the report should print out nice and clean and show you the data, easy to read without you having to fidget with columns, etc., to make it look readable. So we have put a lot of effort in how this works because we understand how important reporting is to a law firm. If you just want to email a copy of this report to somebody, for you new users for Juris Suite, we can email reports. Just click on the send email button. And again, you can tell us how you want to email that report. How do you want it attached to the email? One of the other nicer things you can do, which I'm not going to get into too much detail, is, as I had mentioned earlier, a lot of these reports, we're dealing with thousands upon thousands of users. So a lot of reports might have data columns you don't need, or there might be pieces of data you want that they don't have. Well, what you can do, if I close out of this report, is you can customize these reports in Juris Suite. So you just find a report that you need to tweak, right click on that report, and you can make a copy of it. Click on copy, makes a copy of that report. Now that you have a copy of it, you can right click on it and you can edit that report, which will go into our report design. So just as the details of the report, you can put some keywords for making it easier to find this report and assign some keywords to it. But the nice thing is you can go to the designer and now you can just design the report yourself in Juris Suite. Again, we could do this previous versions, but for those of you not familiar with the Juris Suite reporting side, you can actually design these reports, customize them in Juris Suite. There is a report designer. And the reason I made a copy of it is we're not going to let you edit existing reports and possibly break them. So if you've never worked with a report designer before, the last thing we want you to do is break an actual report that you rely on for data. So that's why you make a copy of an existing report, then you can edit that copy to your heart's content, especially if you've never designed a report in a report designer before. Some of you might be looking at this going, oh my goodness, what am I looking at? Report design is not usually the easiest thing in a product. So this might take a little bit of practice on your part to actually understand how to design reports, what you can do with them. But because you're editing a copy, that lets you go in and just to dive into our design report to figure out how these things work without having to damage an actual real report that you rely on in Juris Suite. So yes, it may look a little complicated, but most report designers are. It's just a matter of getting your feet wet, jumping in and seeing what the design allows you to do. And because we have so many reports, you may just want to be able to, I just want to go in and run a report. I don't want to dig through these different folders, find these different reports to run them. So when you find a report that you like, that you want to run on a regular basis, instead of having you jump into a specific folder here and looking for it, again, just right click on the report and tell it you want to add this as a favorite report. Add it as a favorite. Down below, you can put in a description of what this report is going to show anybody, and then just set your default parameters here. So you don't have to set these every time you want to run the report. That's where these dynamic date frames can come in handy, is because you can say, anytime I run it, I want to run it as of today's end date. So it doesn't matter what day of the month, year, etc. It'll run as of that day you run the report in Juris Suite. So set your default parameters for running this report. I don't need that page break. I don't need the parameters at the end of the report. Once you got everything set the way you would like to run this report in the future, you just click OK. And now anytime you need to run one of your favorite reports, over here on the left is your reports panel. Right here, my favorites. All the reports that you save as favorites will show up here. So now I can quickly just double click and run that report, and it's got all my parameters. I can still tweak them if I need to down below, but everything's set. Quick, easy, couple double clicks, I've got my report. And I can run this report once a week, once a month, and it'll always update as of today's date. So when you have all these different reports in the system that you need to run on a regular basis, add them as favorites so you can quickly get to them. So basically, for most users of Juris Suite, it comes with the My Transactions, My Summary, the Inquiry snap-ins. You get those when you get Juris Suite. The My Reports, of course, is an added feature. You'd have to purchase that. So those of you who already have Juris Suite, if you don't see that, your firm just doesn't have My Reports right now, you'd have to purchase that. But this is how you navigate through Juris Suite for new users, is what we call snap-ins. And you would just have a new snap-in called My Reports. At the top, there's another tab. There's the My Favorite Reports here, or you can click on the My Reports tab again to get back to all the reports that are in Juris Suite. So we have spent a lot of time just rebuilding this whole back end so you can get the data you want out of Juris Suite. You can tweak your own reports. You can add them as favorites. Again, some of this stuff is familiar to current Juris Suite report users, but those of you that are new or thinking about getting Juris Suite reports, this is the type of thing you'll have when you update, if you do upgrade to Juris 3.0 and add the Juris Suite reporting module as well. I'm going to jump back to my PowerPoint right quick. I had a question come in at some point before this transaction. Is there any known issues? Are you concerned about issues with Juris 3.0? So best thing I can tell you is anytime we do an update to Juris, regardless if it's Juris 3.0, 3.1, 2.8, just go to the Juris website and look at our notes. We'll have release notes, and at the end of the release notes, we'll list any issues that we're aware of with the product. So anybody who's tentative about updating to Juris 3.0, of course, you will get the slide presentation within a week or so. They'll have the link built in for Juris 3.0. But for future releases, just remember, go to our website, go to the Juris website, look for the release notes of the latest version, and any issues you may have or we may be aware of will be listed in the notes issue so you can see if that's going to be a problem with your firm. And of course, if you are going to upgrade to Juris 3.0, we always recommend that, if possible, update in a test environment. Try it out with your data in a test environment first and see how it works. Make sure it's going to work for you before you do an upgrade. So those are things that you can do and check out any known issues that we have. If you need to contact us for professional services, you can go to the jps@lexisnexis.com. These are the team of people that a lot of you are probably familiar with, people like Kathy, Stan, that you've probably dealt with for decades and decades upon decades. Don't tell Kathy I said that. She will hunt me down and kill me. But these are the people that you've worked with as consultants for ages. They can help you get your updates, your reports updated, etc. There was a question about the price to upgrade. I can't really give you a price because all the pricing is dependent on your current version of Juris, what support plan you have, your number of users, all that stuff. So I don't have a pricing for Juris or Juris Suite, but of course you can always contact Kendra and she can get that pricing information for you. So if you don't already have Juris Suite, Kendra can tell you how much it's going to cost to upgrade. And then if you just need training, so it's not so much you need hands-on one of the consultants, you just have someone who needs a little bit of training on a particular area of Juris, you can contact our university as well with LLM training at lexisnexis.com for training opportunities. I think there's a couple other questions that have come in before I turn it back over. Let me just look at my list here. There's a question about client pay. Yes, Juris 3.0 has client pay integrated. So if you like to use the client pay system, you need to be on Juris 3.0. It is then built in. We've got a video that I put up on our support site for Juris that'll walk you through how to set up client pay. If you just want to take a quick look at that video before you upgrade just to see the process, it should be on the Lexis University. We might have it on marketing somewhere on juris.com as well. I think we asked about that and it might be out there as well. Upgrades, is there downtime? Yeah, there will be downtime to upgrade Juris suites. Just upgrading my version of Juris to 3.0 probably took me 45 minutes to an hour just for my one server workstation combo. So if you are going to upgrade, whether it's to Juris Suite or Juris 3.0, plan on downtime. There's going to be some as we do the upgrade. Third-party integrations. The API for Juris 3.0 has not changed. The API is how other companies integrate with us. So there was questions about time matters and iTimekeep. Technically, as far as I know, they should work fine, but since they are third-party products, you would have to contact those companies directly to verify that it works. But as far as I know, it should. The API for Juris 3.0 has not changed, so those should currently still work. Time matters a little different. In the past, I could have answered that, but because they're still owned by LexisNexis, but they've been spun off and they're now co-owned by a company called Leap Software. They actually have their own building. They've kind of spun out separately, so I don't have that access I would have had a year ago with them. So you would have to contact Time Matters directly just to verify that they will work with 3.0. But like I said, the API has not changed, so it should theoretically work. And I think that answers the questions between the presentation and what I just went through that had already come in. So anybody else have any questions?
Thank you, Dwayne, for that great and informative session. This concludes the presentation portion of our webinar. As a reminder, if you do have any questions, please feel free to ask them via the questions pane located on your webinar control panel. So we have a good amount of questions. Unfortunately, we won't be able to get to all of them. Anything that we do not get to, we will send to Dwayne and he will make sure to answer them for you. But the first question is, we have many custom reports that professional services did for us. If they need to be redone or fixed when we upgrade to 3.0, will we have to pay to have them fixed? Sorry if this was already provided.
My guess is they should upgrade fine if they were done by the professional services team. I assume these were reports that were done in Juris Suite for you. So if they weren't done in Juris Suite, I apologize, but I assume because they customized them, they were probably Juris Suite. Custom reports from Juris Suite will upgrade fine. There should be no issue with Juris Suite custom reports. So if you're running an earlier version of Juris, you upgrade to 3.0 with Juris Suite reporting, those reports are in Juris Suite, there should be no problem with that. They should come over fine. My guess is if there is an issue and it's our fault, we would fix it. But if it's anything else, I'm assuming there would be some kind of fee involved, but you can email the professional team at the JPS at lexisnexis.com to verify. But my understanding is Juris Suite reports that were customized for you will upgrade to 3.0 fine. There should be no issues with those reports in Juris Suite that were created.
Okay, I will ask one more. If we currently have West Coast reports with numerous custom reports, how do we go about getting them transferred to Suite?
Again, it depends. If they were customized for either Access or Juris Core, then you'd have to talk with the professional services team about getting those moved over. I know those reports should have existed previous to 3 in Juris Suite. Let's flip the right tab. I want to say we already had them in here in the earlier versions. Just go to the W's. All right, they should be in here. I think they were already in here. So if they were customized in Juris Suite itself, those customs should come over fine. If they were customized and put into Juris Core, then you may have to work with the professional services team to get them into Juris Suite. So it just depends on where they are living currently. Anything in Juris Suite that's been customized should upgrade fine to 3.0. Should be no worries with that.
Unfortunately, we are out of time, but all questions submitted will have an answer provided. That concludes today's webinar, and I would like to thank Dwayne once again for his excellent presentation to all of our attendees for taking time out of your busy day to join us. All attendees will receive an email within 1 week with a link to a recording of today's webinar, as well as any slides they used for their presentation. In closing, there is a brief survey at the end of our webinar today that we ask you to please take a moment to complete. Your feedback will help us in planning our future webinars. Thank you all for your time today. I hope everyone has a great day. Thanks again, Dwayne.
Thanks.